And minority NDC denies receiving double salary. Well, let us go into some of these topics into detail. Well, make sure that you are getting me on WhatsApp on 0243158 and then Facebook is Weekly Press Review /GBC24, and I'm live streaming on YouTube and Facebook at the same time at Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. I'm live on Unique FM 95.7 megahertz and live on Ghana Television, that is GTV Main. So now we're starting to look at the issues in detail. Let us start with the fact that the issue of tramadol, which is becoming a narcotic rather than a painkiller, we're told that is becoming a source of worry because most of our students are using it the other way around. Now, I have a pharmacist who is also a researcher, Wunuguchi. I'm sure that she's ready to tell me exactly what constitutes this whole drug abuse, if there is concern for it to be described that way. Susan.
Well, there is a lot of concern about the tramadol misuse.
Right.
A lot of our young people are taking it. And it's been a cause for worry.
They're taking it for fun?
Yes, they are not taking it for that property. It's a opioid for moderate to, severe pain, not, and that's what they use. And of course, it has its side effects that you don't want the young people to get hooked on to it. And we find out that a lot of our young people are getting hooked onto it. And the pharmaceutical family are very concerned, especially, Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana, the FDA. The FDA is doing a lot of active work on it. The thing is, there are a lot of unapproved routes in which these drugs are coming in. So, trying to sort of control its use has been a little difficult. But I think the FDA are working hard and doing the education, going around, trying to seize, those people who have brought it in illegally, I think a couple of days ago there were some that were seized from the Ashanti region from licensed chemical sellers who are not supposed to have them. Licensed chemical sellers are supposed to sell over-the-counter drugs, and they're not supposed to sell a certain category of drugs. And yet you find that a lot of our licensed chemical sellers are flaunting this with impunity, doing all sorts of things, antibiotics, tramadol, all sorts of things that they are not supposed to be doing. And, so that is also a concern. But coming back to tramadol use, I think that, the education has to go out. The young people, those who are abusing it, ought to be made aware of its adverse effects, and we really do have to put a stop to it. Yes.
Now we're looking at it in two forms. We have FDA's responsibility and the abuse category of it. Now, if these things are not supposed to be sold over the counter by people who don't have the requisite skill and understanding of the use of this drug and are doing it, like you just enumerated, don't you think that then it's the subject matter of FDA's incompetence or challenge which they have never been able to surmount?
Well, I think that, yes, FDA may have some challenges in terms of maybe, the drugs
regulating
coming,
them.
Not regulating. It's not actually. I mean, it's not about FDA regulating them. If you have people who are licensed to bring it in, FDA has a list of them, and they know the quantities that are coming in. I think the problem is coming from those who are importing it from unapproved routes. Our borders are virtually porous. It's not everywhere that can be manned properly, and things like that. So if you have it coming from those unapproved routes, FDA might have a bit of a challenge handling those. Those that are coming in from ethical pharmaceutical companies, you know how much has come in, you can have the records, how much has been sold, who is being sold to, where it has been sold, etc., etc., etc. If it's being sold in pharmacies with a prescription, you can follow up on that. You have a pharmacist there; he can look at the prescription. He knows it's a valid prescription.
So that arena is bizarre.
So that arena
is bizarre.
It's well regulated. I think the problem is coming from the abuse of it, where you are having it coming in from certain corners, and then you don't have a hold of those corners, and then of course it's getting onto the streets, and people are and I think that there's a lot of education. One pharmacist was talking about where a young man came in to fill out a prescription for his mom, and then he casually asked, "Oh, could he get some tramadol tablets?" And she was horrified. She said, "No, you cannot." And so because of probably the ease of getting it in certain licensed chemical sellers and people who are not authorized to give it out, some young people may think that it's something that I can walk into a pharmacy and because it's a painkiller, I can ask for it, which is wrong. But like I said, if it's in the controlled section, it's easy to do. I think that the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana is also trying to do its best to do a lot of education on it. You also have the Pharmacy Council that regulates pharmacists, and is doing its best to.
Whilst giving kudos to the lady in Ashanti region who is in charge of FDA, the fact that she's been able to come up with this matter, I'm thinking that if you read a story or you listen to commentary, it was as though because those who sell want to have the market with students, they've cited certain shops around senior high schools where the students can have access to. But I don't think that is the case. Do you think so? This is the case of Ashanti. This an Ashanti regional docket.
Well, yeah, fine. I mean, that would be sad. But you see, it is the Pharmacy Council and now the HEFRA who are supposed to regulate where pharmacies and licensed chemical sellers should be cited. In the past, I mean, the reason why even we had all this proliferation of licensed chemical sellers was that there were not enough pharmacies in the, in the hinterlands or in the rural areas. So they empowered, licensed chemicals. Now you are even finding licensed chemical sellers next door to pharmacies trying to compete with pharmacies when they don't even have the requisite skill and knowledge to be doing the things that they are doing. But coming back to that, Ashanti, I don't think, I would be hard pressed to say that they were deliberately, placed in those positions so that they could feed opioid analgesics to the students. They were probably, looking at the market. They would look at the market. Students will come over to that. But you see, that would be so unethical because you're not supposed to supply tramadol without a prescription, and that would be extremely unethical. Of course, there's a lot of unethical things going on where money is the bottom line, but that ought to be checked by the Pharmacy Council. That ought to be checked by the FDA, etc., etc.
Right. Thank you very much for your comments. Doc?
Yeah. Good morning, my lady.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good morning to your cherished viewers. This has been my first time, and I already feel
welcome. Good.
Very warm welcome. Greetings to the President of the land.
Good.
The First Lady, the Vice President, the Second Lady, and indeed the entire leadership of our country.
Very well.
And to my people in the central region.
Bantama special.
Yes. This tramadol thing has to be situated within the Ashanti region enclave and in Kumasi. Even though it's a bad news, it's also good that we are unearthing some of these things. It has been there with us for quite a long time, and we've not spoken to it. The media maybe hasn't gotten to unearthed it. Thanks to the FDA. I know Mimi Darko very well, the chief executive. She's such a vibrant lady. And then the particular officer at the Central region, Mrs. Telabi, happened to be in the office. It's a good thing that it's doing. And I think there's the need for concerted efforts. At this point, the Pharmacy Council, as my sister have said, the public health service system must be involved. The security agencies must, as a matter of urgency, be involved too. Overall, the sustainability of the exercise to get rid of these peddlers, drug peddlers and sellers, whether chemical shops or whatever, within certain parameters of particularly the school and educational institutions, SHS. You look at the news and you read the report, and the target group is frightening. You know, these are the future leaders of our country, and we are preparing them to be good citizens. If at this stage they are being exposed to such and such a thing. Before we talk about deeply about tramadol, I think we need to situate the whole thing. What is it? And what are the uses and what are the effects when it's being abused? I'm not a pharmacist.
She is.
Yes, she is.
She'll tell us later.
Yes, tramadol, yes, it's a drug man-made, and it is a man-made narcotic that is analgesic. It means it's a pain reliever or a painkiller, as we normally call it, and it is prescribed to patients who have moderate to severe pain by the appropriate authorities, and here I mean the doctors and pharmacists may even do. So it's a drug, it's for everyday use, but then its usage has a particular purpose to do. Now, it works directly into the brain, where the pain stimulator in the brain is attacked by the drug so that it gets relieved. So then, anything that goes direct into the brain, we must know how
We must know.
The FDA, per their records, have licensed 50 milligrams to 100 milligrams of tramadol to be brought in. So, according to official documents, we are supposed to be dishing out or dispensing 50 milligrams up to 100 milligrams. But we have as much as 225 milligrams that have found their way in the system. Most of the drugs they accosted, they've seized, most of them are 225 milligrams, that far beyond what is allowed by FDA regulations. I hope you are getting my point.
I'm doing so.
Yeah, the illegality begins. Now, because of the nature of the drug, it is supposed to be dispensed by a pharmacist through the issuance of prescription forms by the doctors. How do you call it? The chemical the target is the youth. And why do they want it? Why? It is their belief, or it is believed, that they go in for it to ejaculation during sexual encounter, and then to increase euphoria. You know, they get intoxicated for about 5 minutes or so. So these are the motivation for them to go for. And if you have a system that nothing is being controlled properly, and we officially sanction the advertisement of these wanton advertisement of these aphrodisiacs and all kinds of things, and anything has to do with sexual enhancement nowadays on your TVs and your radios and everything. So the entire societal thinking is being geared towards something else. And these youth, with the exuberance that they have, will want to test and will want to do everything.
Right, okay.
Now, the negative damage.
Now, honorable due respect,
Yeah.
I just want to intervene a bit so that we can admit the other panelists onto our show. Sorry about that, but you come back to continue with that. So please stay tuned with me, and let me just bring in the next panelist. Don't go away.
In our case, Ghanaians sometimes do not want the truth.
Well, you're welcome back. But let me say that Alhaji Mohammed Nashiru, member communication team, and this has just joined me. Before that, Dr. Henry Kwabena Kukufu, a former NPP MP for Bantama, was airborne with the whole analysis of aphrodisiacs, the youth, and all that. So, still staying there, sir.
Yes, and we've been told by the experts that the net effect, the adverse effect of the abuse of tramadol, one, causes damage to the brain, 2, slows down heart rate, 3, you can have what they call, well, other things, yeah, by the experts, and they are all damaging to the human body. So it's about time, and I think it may be late, but it's better that the FDA are taking these steps, and the coordination must be seen to be working. And then the awareness must be out there. This is about the time the so-called NGOs engaged in youth development and others must come together and then help to educate the masses as to the damage this rather a good drug,
right?
Yeah, painkiller.
Otherwise,
being abused,
right? And
the generality of drug abuse is something that we need to talk about. Only this week, the president of the land, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, launched the antimicrobial resistance policy. I mean,
it wasn't last week. It was earlier this week.
Well, earlier this week. Yes.
It was 2 days ago.
2 days ago, 3 days ago. He launched the antimicrobial resistance. It goes hand in hand with some of these things. When you abuse the antibiotics, then the viruses and bacteria, and it's going to be difficult to fight them. And they become chronic and all kinds of things. So all these things are intertwined and joined together. Matters of health cannot be taught because it comes with heavy costs. You cannot recover life.
Grateful. Ahaji, today is Friday. I know you are just warming up for Juma prayers, but hi, you are here talking about drug abuse, tramadol, and all that. So you're welcome, sir.
Thank you, and let me quickly use the opportunity to say sorry for coming a little late. I actually would apologize and also indicate to viewers that I have to step in service to God and country for someone who was slated for this program. Thank you for having me, and the subject being discussed, I think is timely for me because I have just been exposed to the danger of the abuse of tramadol and many other related drugs that are supposed to be counter drugs but ended up being abused by many of the youth. By the accident of my lineage and birthplace, I am exposed to many of these things in the Zongos and inner cities where the damage is so enormous. I can attest to it that if people are thinking of going into pharmaceutical shops to seize these drugs, then they are getting it wrong. As we speak today, there are people walking our streets holding all sort of medications and are selling this to unsuspecting youth who may be introduced to this whole canker, and it's so alarming. I want to use this opportunity to draw the attention of Food and Drugs Authority that it is not only in the pharmaceutical shop. When you see those young men selling on the street, sometimes they be holding pieces of paracetamol, and especially in the villages and the inner cities, it's very common. They sell this, drugs to people, and the damage it causes is so rapid. Just after consumption, the same human being you are dealing with very effectively would become something else. They become next to animals. Can't reason, can't do anything. You talk to a person and it takes 15 minutes for the person to respond to one question. I mean, that is the level of damage to the brain that is so enormous. And you see, my fear is this. Mostly the youth, who constitute a chunk of our population. And nationally, we are being as a potential human beings, and we look on for such young people to destroy themselves, sometimes out of curiosity, sometimes out of ignorance. I mean, we will not blame them so much, because the information, someone will just introduce another person and in an attempt to also show bravado.
But sir, don't you think that you brought a very important part of this topic to life by saying that by reason of where you use and say all that, these things are sold commonly. I'm saying that, is it not therefore a failure of the health system? Because we need to reach these people with professionals, and we're not doing it. So we're allowing others these drugs as though they're toffees and chewing gums. You understand what I'm saying?
You see,
so we need to be looking at the health system, don't you think so?
Yes, the health system, but I want to believe that I must be honest, some measures have been put in place. I mean, we all know that when you go to a pharmaceutical shop, I mean, people look at you straight in the... We all know the licensing of pharmaceutical pharmacists ensures that you even have semi-trained, if not fully trained, person to man the place anytime you are not around. We cannot also rule out the fact that pharmaceutical shops have become hospitals, and as a result of lack of proper medication, lack of the necessary clinics and hospitals that need to cater for people. And for that matter, they are viewed, I mean, pharmacists are called doctors in many communities, and those are complex problems that has, led to this situation. However, those miscreants involved in the sale of these dangerous drugs to unsuspecting youth are people who have just noticed a niche and are taking advantage of that niche. If you go to the pharmaceutical shop, even though, I mean, one measure I know the pharmaceutical shop has taken to, kept this situation is to increase the price so that it doesn't become attractive for somebody to buy something of this as small as a bottle with this price, just so they deter people away from buying it. But the people because they are hooked up to it and the addiction is so high, they buy it, and the danger is so serious. Let us collectively, I will not leave this only in the hands of the what we call health sector, but collectively the community leaders, politicians, MP, whoever is involved and has say in community should come together, and let's save our youth from the danger that they're exposed to.
May I move on to...
Kwame, he said some things, let me total. I mean, medical books and find out that TRAMADOL is a let me finish. That's what they're using. I'm developing a point.
All right, okay.
I think it's used more feel-good effect. It's like an antidepressant, so you feel good. Actually, in actual fact, I mean, for men, it will decrease your sexual sensitivity. So maybe you may take a longer time to orgasm or whatever. That may be a mixed blessing for some people.
But I'm just abuses.
Well, and of course the wrong thinking. But I mean, just the itinerant cell. We've had these itinerant drug. What do you call it? They're selling drugs in buses. They're selling at the station. I think FDA had some education with the GPR to use some of these organized to stop these itinerant drug peddlers from doing it. Yes, the whole system has to carrying Ghana must go and are selling drugs from it, and that is a difficult thing for the FDA. They probably need more hands on deck to look at it to regulate. The Pharmacy Council also needs to look at it. When you enter a pharmacy, ask for the pharmacist. I think many people then think that the MCA, that the medical counter assistant, or they think that the pharmacy assistant is a pharmacist. A pharmacist doesn't go to school. They have PharmD. In places they are called bench doctors, because when you come out with the PharmD, you know, and you are the expert on all drugs. You have places where, if you go to America, all the surgeon has to do is to say, oh, pharmacy consult, and then he mentions the drug, and the pharmacist will do it. Over here, we think that we have limited our pharmacists just to dispensing, but that is not what the when you enter a pharmacy shop, pharmacy, not a licensed chemical seller, because licensed chemical sellers are not supposed to be selling Class A drugs. I mean, it's you know, and that one, the pharmacy council, FDA, the police, whoever, have to ensure that that is not happening, and people are stopped from it.
Let me just move on to the next topic.
But, I mean, just a small
the next topic.
Just a small, everywhere. People are peddling the drugs here and there in their bags and all kinds of things. And it is not only limited to the youth. Now the police, the MTTU, are reporting that they accost a driver. The driver is seemingly intoxicated, but you cannot smell alcohol. And they blow the balloon, and there's no alcohol content in there. So these things must be watched out.
Well, Deputy Sports Minister suspended over Australia visa scandal, and we're told that Current Time says that Deputy Minister, Acting DG, MCA suspended 3 top officials. Dr. Kofu, I want you to start trotting on this issue. Now, this is a very big scandal. It started like a joke. We thought that some people have found their way through some other means. You know, we didn't want to say it was some officials were involved or skin deep into this matter. But I think that when there was a lot of fat they had to cut, and so the president just moved into action. We're not saying that anybody's involved here, but so far the president has taken very important decision. I'm saying that to what extent do you think these ministers are involved in this, if you like to call it a scandal?
Yeah, to start with, this kudos to the president. The prompt action, as you said, and it's quite decisive at this stage. It's very, very important to note. And preliminary, and that the CID have taken over the investigations. We will pray that and tell them, indeed, we need it. We need to ask them to speed up the investigation and do a thorough one, so that we can get rid of some of these things. For the president to have asked his deputy minister to stay aside, and then the acting boss at NSA,
National Sports
Authority, clearly indicates that the man is seriously against these things and will not countenance any of them. The backdrop, coming from where we've traversed over the years up to this point, you agree with me, everybody will agree with me, that it has not been easy with that particular ministry. I mean, the Ministry of Youth and Sports. One scandal upon one scandal during regimes here and there, and it is not a good thing. I think at this stage, President Akufo-Addo has what it takes to do exactly what needs to be done by making sure we sanitize that particular ministry, get rid of all these things. Previously, some kind of interventions have been made, sanctions have been made, but it seems they are not deterrent enough. And the kind of cartel that operates within that kind of enclave, that canopy, is so persistent. Maybe they are acting like the antimicrobials, you know. They are getting resistant to some of these things. But the kind of antidote that the president will bring in will go a long way to assuage our pains. Well, it is an international thing that needs to be contained. We haven't done enough to deter people from abusing the offices that they occupy in terms of running the sports administration in totality. 3 other officials have been recalled to help in the investigations. And so I will call for, once these investigations are done, I will call for reopening of some of the past inquiries that have been undertaken.
We saw Brazil.
Yeah, we saw Brazil.
And there was a clear inquiry into it.
Exactly. We need to revisit it.
You know, a portion like Brazil, we need to revisit Brazil.
No, revisit the inquiry.
The inquiry,
yes,
right,
and looked into it again.
So, what do you think? To what end would you think this would fetch us anything?
Yes,
Brazil, for instance.
When such things happen and people are not punished, we are here in Ghana. Those are asked to revert to the presidency instead of being given the sack. They were asked. Kojo Asare was asked to the presidency. Likewise, the minister then, Mr. Free Ankara, was asked to come back to the presidency. And I think some of these things does not help. Once it's properly established that there's some kind of issues must be clear and stringent enough so it can deter others. So, and that is not that one alone. Congo, we experienced something. Sudan, that is going on there. And then try to pinpoint if there are real cartels existing, which I do believe for all.
Right.
We cannot continue to embarrass ourselves internationally and locally in this manner.
Well, Alhaji Nashiru, somebody would say that President Akufo-Addo's attitude towards this and the brazen manner in which he has really looked at suspending his ministers and respect, it's a commentary that is a man who is in there to fight corruption. Would you say that is true or not?
Well, let's hope so. That is what we would wish to see the president to do. However, to the contrary, when you go to the ground, there are a lot of things that contravenes even this particular attempt where people see it something else. I read a statement by a group calling it, it's a Volta Youth Network or something, which sought to raise a lot of issues. And some of the questions they have asked is the fact that how come we've had such investigation going on based on allegation on certain ministers, i.e. the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, who went through investigation by a legitimate anti-corruption body, Shraj, and he was left in the office. We've had the issue of Alan Chamantin, we've had the issue of his deputy, Carlos Ahinkra, something, who all in the cash for seats saga and a whole lot of things. None of them was asked to step aside for investigation. His name, the deputy minister, he's been asked to step down for investigation to continue. And the critical question we need to ask ourselves is this. That I know, at least from my little experience in handling government and government agencies, when you go to a ministry, the minister is the head and takes responsibility for everything. Whatever tax is given to a deputy minister or any head of department, the minister must supervise and ensure that it is in tandem with what he is in the ministry to ensure that is the policy of government. For that matter, at the end of the day, if there is a problem, I don't expect that you zero it only to an individual. And for that matter, a deputy minister, when the minister is still at post, what role did the minister play in all this for him to be exempted or insulated from the fact that there is a scandal and we suspect that the right thing be done? I mean, these are questions that people will continue to ask that will not make it serious, the attempt by this government to portray the impression that they are in to fight corruption. We believe the government must fight corruption. We are at corruption, but if it is...
I think Ghanaians are sick of it. An issue has come, we are dealing with it, the MPP issue, and then the MPP that want to go and bring the NDC issue and try and bring it back. I mean, really? No, please let me finish. When you that is how it looks like. You get it. One person has done something wrong, and now we are saying, oh, okay, let's go and bring the one that... And then it begins to muddy the waters and cloud the whole issue. Can we finish dealing with this, let it be over, and then we can say, okay, we want to look at the others? I agree with him. If the MPP have a problem with the commission of inquiry or whatever that went on with the Brazil issue, or they feel that the recommendations were not punitive enough, and that is the justification for going back to it, and they can justify using the taxpayers' money to go back and pleased. You get it. So they must look at it carefully. Were the recommendations not punitive enough? Were they not adhered to, or new evidence where you can, tender in that new can now be punished. I think that that is how it should be looked at. But I would prefer that not to muddy the waters. Let us finish dealing with the now and present, the Commonwealth issue. Let's deal with it decisively, fairly and properly, finish with it and say, okay, now let's bring the cold cases and look at it. Because once we haven't finished dealing with this one that is hot and right now here, and you go and bring the cold case,
I heard Dr. Kokofu saying that it's this opportunity for us to revisit issues in this ministry and deal with them.
You can do a good thing at the wrong time, and then it can be thrown away. This is not the time to bring that issue in. Then the NDC come and say, and the whole thing becomes, you know, and Ghanaians get fed up of it. Now we have a deputy minister who preliminary investigations have seemingly found something that has been untoward, and so he's been asked to step aside. The same with the chief executives or NSA, etc., etc. I mean, if they had everything had been kosher, they probably would not have asked them to step aside. They've recalled people, they've recalled the GOC chairman, they've recalled people to come back so that things can be investigated. Let us do a proper job on this one, and when you have done a proper job on this one and people are satisfied with it, then you say, okay, fine, we finished with this one, we have dealt with it decisively, people are happy with the results, we have looked at it, let's bring the cold cases. Now, what were the recommendations? How did that inquiry go about? How was it done? Were people punished appropriately? Is there new evidence to punish people? Otherwise, we will just be, you know, wasting time.
So what do you say to this Voltairean suspicion?
I don't know about the Voltaire, so I cannot speak. Okay, I cannot speak to it. You get it. But you see, I don't know whether here double jeopardy, because also it comes into play. But you as a lawyer, you will say whether double jeopardy comes into it, where you are going to the commission, you can try, but it's also possible. But you see, the sports ministry continues to live up to its bad name. I mean, that is so sad. Yes, no, the sports ministry has never been associated with anything fantastic. I mean, maybe our Black Stars, but even that the GFA does also has its own whatever. I mean, coefficient of inefficiencies. You know, you will get their president coming to talk about coefficient of inefficiencies. Really, I mean, how? But I mean, the thing is that sports, I mean, that used to be our pride and joy, and Ghanaians you see now people jubilating over Roma scoring over Inter Milan and Liverpool continuously. Of course, I mean, immediately this thing happened, I think the volleyball general secretary was Miss Ashley or something, and then Mr. Husseini Ajay were brought in, and they sort of, I mean, but it's always coming from them. Yes, visa scandals, we've heard some, even chiefs. We have chiefs who engage in these visa scandals. They are going, their whole entourage, one chief is going with an entourage of 200 people. He's collected all sorts of people's relations.
He goes to resettle them.
He goes, I mean, really. Okay. What is happening is that it gives this country a bad name. It makes visa collection, even for legitimate people, such as had visas before. Genuine, because they had a problem. They probably were going too late.
A short reaction, response from Dr. Kokofu, and then I can just take
I think we have said exactly what I was driving at.
Good.
And, well, maybe it was misconstrued. But let me try to answer my colleague, not per se, but then to throw more light onto what he was trying to talk about. You see, as predictably as my colleagues in NDC can be, you were even baffled when the tribalistic angle was being introduced in, and I did not know why he fell short of going straight to that. What kind of Voltairean youth and all that? We are dealing with Ghana situation. The lady just said this must be dealt with, and I am not responsible. Kwame, you are not responsible either. You understand?
I do.
The Deputy Minister is responsible. It is the office that we're talking about. And in the mind of the President, and through preliminary investigations, things that, yes, you need to step aside whilst investigation goes on. And there are two here. Now, the full investigation, they may be exonerated. At this point, it's an allegation or something. They have not been convicted of any crime, so to speak. So it is under investigations.
All right. Okay.
Keep your cool. Investigations are going on.
So when expanded and we found out that X and Y is involved,
then now he's talking about why the minister is not blah 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 blah. Well, of course you may want to suggest to the president that he should as well ask the minister to step aside, because the ultimate responsibility. Well, that's your suggestion, and I can show you. I can carry your suggestion to the president, no problem. But then you do not dictate. You do not dictate, because you do, as we sit here, we do not. You and I.
He's calling out to his president.
Yes, it's a suggestion, a friendly call, and I said I'll carry it down for him.
No, he doesn't. He's a Ghanaian citizen. He's entitled to tell him himself. You don't need to carry it for him.
Fine, I agree. He's entitled. You see, he's entitled to his suggestion, but he's not entitled to order.
Well,
the president to act to him
to
his whims and caprices.
We understand that,
because that is his wish. You understand? So allow the process to go on. Investigations are going. All that we need to do, all of us politicians, is to make sure that investigations are properly and thoroughly done.
Now he said, you see, there was something he raised. He said that if it's a coincidence, he said the coincidences of certain scandals happening under this regime within a very short time has been one too many. That's what he just mentioned, and said what they managed to achieve in 8 years, this regime is seeing those things in about 1.5 years. That's what he's saying.
No. With scandals and that is why. That is why my lady was trying to talk about equalization.
Okay.
That I'm trying to equalize. I am not. I just wanted us to go back a little bit so that we can consolidate what there is. And then even I said, after these investigations have been done thoroughly, and then we need to exercise that ghost.
Right. In there.
Right. And she landed on that.
Right.
Because many a times at that particular ministry, found all these things happening, and this is the time under the watch of President Akufo-Addo. Inshallah, we will come to exercise that. And then quick one.
I wanted to give
I hope I'll get.
You get time. when he sought to talk about scandals here and there, putting it here and there, investigations have gone on here everywhere. Investigations have gone on. If per se he has evidence, particularly with the minister, he's at liberty to profile.
Let me just read the messages which have come. Very interesting. My name is Papa Chum. Yeah. Look, he said, look, tramadol is all over the place. People who sell local gin, akweteshi, mix it with a local gin and sell. Our advice that the police should ensure that people are arrested in connection to the sale of this concoction. Good morning, Mr. Host, and to your panelists as well. I'm Ernest from Oyarifa Teman. Please, is prolonged sex? He said, please, is prolonged sex a must, or should we go according to our strength? Do you women really want it that way? My goodness, what kind of question is it? And Prince, it was Honorable who said it. So please.
Yeah, but that is what we are thinking. That is
I'm Prince from Koforidua. Here in Koforidua, even beer bars and some supermarkets even sell some. And some can even take it 3 times daily, like a daily meal. I'm watching you live from Wasa Ikropong. People can show us how the frag Ranadol look like, isn't it? They advertise on television every day. Well, that's what I say, Franadol. From Alhaji Dauda, in my view, that's what someone is telling me. So today's Friday, so please just, from here I'm going to Juma prayer. So, well, I want to change the topic quickly, but a mini statement, and then I'll just go on to the next topic, please.
Good. You see, the point still remains that as we speak today, many other instances of alleged malfeasance has been investigated. As we speak, even a house as important as Parliament is yet to get a report on the point I'm making is that we are not getting response or reports of the investigation so taxed by the president, and it's leaving us in a vacuum. We don't know what is going on. That aside, as we speak today, we expect that something needs to be done differently. Whatever it is that the MPP today would like to make reference to in the NDC era is non-existent. What is existent, what is more important today is the promise given to Ghanaians that they are coming in to do something different in order for us to have different results. And that is what we expect them to do, and not continue in the back and forth analysis of issues.
Well, Malaysia denies receiving
Can I say
double pay. Just one.
This Ministry of Sports, I wish somebody, I don't know what kind of SOPs they use, but what kind of risk assessment they have done.
You don't like
because
it,
they seem to have a lot of loopholes for abuse and for corruption. Maybe the government need to sit down, have a think tank, and look at the kind of SOPs they use, the kind of protocols they use, and the loopholes, and make sure that they block them, and you know, the kind of risk for all sorts of how would I put it, scandalous activity that they get up to, and the government block them. You see, because otherwise the potential ones, and find all these and block them, or make sure that people are punished. You see, you don't treat equals unequally. If in the what do you call it, sports ministry, we're getting all sorts of corruption and all sorts of things there, you probably will not treat it the same as another ministry that you have less scandals and less corruption, because maybe they have less avenues for doing that. And so we need to, because it's way too much. If you are even going to look, we haven't changed our sports minister yet with this government, but if you are looking at the sports minister, they are changed as easy as maybe Charles is changing his coaches. You understand? And that is because you know, you find that I think that the constant factor are the civil servants that are there. As for the ministers, they're coming and going, and probably they are not the issue. But the constant factor of those civil servants and those public servants there who have corrupted the system in such a way that any minister that comes there will fall foul of them. They will create this thing for you, and you will fall into it because it suits their purpose. I think we need to look at this sports ministry carefully, get some people to look at it, put some protocols down there, block loopholes, do a risk assessment of the things that make them do these things.
Well, the minority in Parliament denies receiving double salary. Daily Graphic Wednesday, April 11th, and Ghanaian Times Wednesday, April 11th, and that is what is on the table now for us to discuss. Let us look at the whole issue of salary administration in Doc. May I respectfully start with you? The minorities just came out clear to say that the extent to which this matter has been handled, it's such that it looks like it smacks of, you know, as though some level of witch hunting. I mean, why would you want to go and report this matter to the police and criminalize it when clearly if somebody has been paid doubly and people are making excuses that these things happen? So why don't you call the parties to pay? Well, is it the case that the man I was aware about was still taking the money?
But is it the case that monies were paid doubly to some people?
Well, maybe yes.
Well, if that is the fact.
And you are aware.
And you are aware.
You didn't report.
You did not report. So dishonest.
Receive it, isn't it?
That's the point. You received it dishonestly.
Yes.
And in the August house. So for me, it's unfortunate that some people's name appeared which never was. That one, I sympathize with them. But it's like a soup. I mean, police soup, and people are accosted, and you just look at through and say, no, sorry, you are not. Then the proper culprits are in there. The minority are saying they were not paid
double salary.
No, but what about those that are actually involved? Have they said anything? That is why the CID have invited some people. Why this noise? Go there. If I was in Parliament, you understand? I was in Parliament. If today there's something that needs to be investigated as per my official duties, my public service, and they invite me, it's a matter of just going there to face the panel, and then interrogations goes on. You understand? The aftermath will tell. The end will justify whether I'm culpable or whatever.
But can you tell, under what circumstances did this thing happen?
I do not know. I'm not at the Accountant General's Department. But you see, we have Parliament, we have the Parliamentary Service Board that is responsible for the running of parliamentary affairs, including salary runnings and all those things, allowances and all those things. I do not know at which point is synchronized or the linkage between the Attorney General, Accountant General's Department, where we all know that public services salaries are being taken care of. So there might be some kind of a break. And for someone to be appointed a minister was an MP, the minister's salary is a little bit over and above that of an MP. So most of them will want to regularize and we say, now I'm a minister, so I'm taking the minister's pay. So others may want to, particularly the deputy ministers, may want to remain MP salary. You go on to the platform for deputy ministers payment and all that. But when you do not do any of these, you're sitting idle, and in your account, you're entitled to, at the end of the month, something is paid, another is paid, and it is indicating why the payments have been made. So in your account,
and you go to withdraw.
Yes, in your account,
and you go to withdraw.
Yes, in your account it will be indicated that this parliamentary salary is there, and if it comes as a minister, it is also there the same month, and you sit down and go ahead and take the double, not for 1 month, but for a long period of time. You are a lawyer. But then, now it's under investigation. Let us allow the investigation.
But this is a scenario.
It's just work, and let's see. At the end of the day, those who will be exonerated, yes, okay. Those who are found culpable, there's always a way out there. The MPs still have monies lodged there, and what can be done. But I'm not in a position to talk about it now. Once an element of crime is established, then the law must follow as a matter of natural sequence.
Right, Susan, do you think this could be called any other name than Bruce?
Diversionary.
I'm not being.
I mean,
I'm not being.
Honestly, I mean, when the first I saw of it was some WhatsApp pictures of some people, and somebody sent it to me and said, "Is it true?" I said, "Oh, diversionary." That was what first came into my mind. But hey, because I mean, look, I think there are several aspects to this thing. One, the police allowed their professionalism to be compromised by pushing 18 other letters out there and withdrawing those letters. What was these people that you are saying they've collected double salaries? They are not a flight risk. They are not about to run away. I mean, I don't foresee any of them about to run away in the nearest future. That issuance of those letters. Now, double salary. I think that it is a flaw in the system in the first place, where people don't even know the actual salary they are getting. If you go and ask the MPs right now whether they have a pay slip, the salary they are getting at the end of each month, what deductions have been made, what payee is this thing, what SNIT is this.
The net or the gross, whatever, and the deductions.
But maybe
so then why is this being said? Well, I'm not sure how. Why is it being said that was it the Auditor General last year found out that some people receive salaries more in advance of what they were supposed to receive? Some received more than others. And yes.
No, you are situated into parliamentarians.
Right.
You're not here to help. You're here to educate careers.
Yes, so allow me to do. So now, and I'm telling you for a fact that at the end of the month, as an MP, you receive a pay slip that has all the...
But do you know about this Auditor General? And it was as a result of a search that the Auditor General came up with that report.
And that is different from not receiving anything at all.
Nobody's saying you don't receive anything, but I'm saying that basis. Then so you are receiving two pay slips. You are saying that those people were receiving their pay slip as MPs and receiving their pay slips as ministers. Then you can, if in your investigations you can say it was deliberate. At the end of the month, you are receiving two pay slips when you know. Wait. No, as for the account, look, there are people there who don't look. I mean, my salary is so small, I don't even bother to find out how much it is.
You don't take bank statements?
No, I don't bother. I mean, it's just not worth my time. Wait.
You're fantabulous hearing.
You get it. Is there? It finishes whatever. Maybe the range in which it will be. But you see, the issue also, the system would have noticed that anomaly, and immediately then people being hauled by the police and making a big show of it. But once the system detects it, then the system will then come and make sure that that they deduct it for you. But for me, I mean, hey, this kind of, we are playing the politics with it. The politics of it will go on and on and on to the next issue.
We're like to lose the nugget.
Have made sure that this doesn't happen.
Let me hear
After all, we have MPs now who are also ministers. What second time?
We generate internally. We don't get it wasted with some level of negligence, maybe from whoever it might come from. The most important thing in this whole issue is the fact that those who have been mentioned have had the opportunity to respond. I think the Parliament, minority in Parliament, have responded very well to the issue as raised, and they've also raised a very important points that I've not heard anybody repeat, which for me is very important. The fact that as we speak, whatever they took was an advance, a salary advance, pending determination of their emolument by the committee that will so set to determine what is due them. So it becomes very difficult for you to say, I've even taken double salary. And then measures are also put in place to ensure that even if such a thing arises, the prime objective for measures put in place is to ensure that even if we lose money, we should look at ways to get the money back first. That is the most important thing. Get the money back first before you think of any other punitive measures. It is in line with that if you go to the custom attempts to or not pay the right duties, is to ensure first the person pays the money before we think of other punitive measures of putting up names and then coming back later to say that.
You buy the minorities' reasons that they were giving advance salaries and not that they were double paid?
Yeah, that's a statement of fact that whatever they take, they have taken so far. It's an advance salary. Okay. So it's pending the determination of what is due them. I mean, it's a fact. We can't run away from that. So, and we all know that the committee was set somewhere in December of 2016 when we were getting out of power. But you see, I'm also beginning to believe, and I don't have doubt about that the whole attempt and the way the entire issue was carried out is an attempt by government to sort to divert attention and also out a more important issue. Like as we speak today, we are talking about the USA Ghana military cooperation that is ending up with what do you call it? A camp of assault. Yeah, the has negotiated for us in this whole agreement. It is very bad for us. People are raising concerns. If you look at some of the people who have been,
so these are more important issues.
It's very important.
People
very
are
important.
Allegedly taking double salary.
When you have measures put in place that they cannot even escape with it. They cannot,
well, I don't want to
even if it is true, they cannot escape
someone
with
says, good morning, Kwame Raja. Says, do substantive ministers and their deputies run his deputy is executing? Salam, Atisi himself must be sacked. I have agreed with what the lady is saying, because if they are saying is the assistance for, then the minister himself is not performing his duty. The man talking is pure NPP man, but please know that this is about Ghanaians and not politicians. Upon receiving beatings from police when we were picketing at the Ministry of Health, the Deputy Minister of Health promised us that by the end of March, they will clear us and post us. But today's date is 11th of April 2018, giving allowance to nurses without employing them. Is that 1-2 an allowance? Hey, 2020 is just around the corner. Sami, unemployed nurse, says from Takrade. Susan, for God's sake, there's nobody who don't receive bank alerts. Please stop encouraging evil from in Abu Bank alert. Well, Mr. Moderator, I think this visa scandal is a shame to the nation. We don't have to. Should be a complete overhaul of the sports ministry as well as the GFA. Look, during President Kufuor's tenure, a sports minister lost his job as a result of this. Look, I think there is a cabal at the ministry, sports ministry, who are the brains behind such issues. We need to fish them out and prosecute them. This disgrace is just too much. The lady panelist should get her facts well. She's doing business analysis. Kwame says from Pristia. Have worked with one organization. My boss was overpaid, but he came out to let the situation known and paid to government chest. Rep Garingo. Well, so that is what other.
It's about exposing the vulnerabilities women face. you have to go to an occasion and people will be like, okay, look at this scary lady coming up. And it was so devastating for me at that time. And I just feel like, okay, if this is how the situation is going to be, then I have to accept myself. I have to embrace what I am.
It's about being ready to speak out for our own rights.
If you see a nice girl, then the assumption is that she enticed the man. What was she wearing? The young girl is wearing. It is not enough grounds for you to rape the girl.
We are always striving to reach the top, no matter what.
Every woman must know that she has a deep-seated strength. That strength that can put her over every hurdle. And that strength should actually encourage you to do more than you think is something good.
Because you need to put yourself on the line. Because some people have done it so that you can go to school, so you can have a voice, just to make sure that women's voices could be heard.
And in today's world, we do have a say.
Actually, they are dead drunk. We don't have a voice. With that voice, we can change the world. With that voice, we can take command of our broken communities.
Women's Voice, weekdays on GBC 24 at 4 p.m. and on Mondays on GTV at 4 p.m. Women's Voice, articulating the issues affecting women and sharing their unique stories with the rest of the world.
In our case, Ghanaians sometimes do not want the truth.
See, when you say such things, it's as if you say Ghanaians that we are stupid. And this is the mistake the NDC did, and we throw them out. And you are doing the same thing.
Last time you said it, that without loyalty, no political party will come into his enemies into office.
Well, yes, I have been talking to Dr. Henry Kwabena Kokofu, former NPP MP Bantama, Susan Edwamankwa, social political analyst, and please just be part of what we're discussing. And I thought that we are finished dealing with the minority NDC denying receiving double salary, but there are some loose ends, threats. People want to pull them out little by little, then we begin to receive. Then we can delve into the last topic, talking about the Newmont Ahafumine accident before we go home with issues. Doc, you probably want to just brush up issues and then we take it out there.
Just a few of them. The question of political motivation, it got lost on me. Why or how political this is? You see, you may fall on the procedure of the police, no problem, and you just chipped in something. If the Auditor General's department is bringing these things,
accountant general,
to the fore. So what? The president have promised the people of Ghana to help protect the public peace. You come into office, this thing come to the fore. Then the police is asked to do investigations. Names have popped up. It show that Kwame has not collected double. So be it. You are gone and free. If you have, then of course further and further and further on. My brother,
Doc, with due respect, Esiama is calling from Lashibi and wants to be part of this discussion. Esiama, good afternoon and welcome, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Oh, I lost him. Yeah, Doc.
Yeah, at one break.
We'll be having these.
I'm good. Hello.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Right, okay. So it's
at one breath, you listen to my colleagues, and it's like they are justifying the collection if actually it happened. Because
systemic failure it's not a justification.
That's it. That is the point.
They think that
that's what they are trying to.
No, but I said
that
if there's a systemic failure,
yes,
it doesn't justify what has happened.
Exactly. So this government is dealing with it, even if there had been systemic failure. Selling tomatoes.
There's someone on the line. Honorable, there's someone on the line.
And you say public money.
Yes, I'm on the line.
All right, good afternoon and welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Your name and where you're calling from and your opinion, sir.
Yeah, I'm William from Adansi Fomina. Yes.
Adansi Fomina, good.
Please, yeah, I want to know whether the MPs, they have a staff ID and they have also gone through a biometric, because I know if you are a government worker, you must go through a biometric registration before you are being paid. There is no way to be paid doubled. So the Controller Accountant General should be blamed for that.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
So that's part of the systemic failure.
So a public purse, public money, even if it is one city, is of paramount importance to the taxpayer of this country, anticipating public funds. And this is a clear opportunity for the public to jump on us. So we have an opportunity to take.
There's another colleague on the line. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, yeah.
Good afternoon.
I think the parliamentary committee in Court of Accounts should be held responsible because they produce the payment, and I think the police must invite them to be interrogated for that issue, because when they make the payment, that's where the MPs will go for it. So I think they must be held responsible for that.
All right. Okay, right. That's what it is.
So Kwame, quickly, if per chance we have these things, then we will be able to, under President Akufo-Addo, there will be no more double payments. Public purse will be protected, and whatever loopholes or weaknesses within the system would have been corrected.
Sealed, okay.
Just because you have said there will be no more loopholes, there will be this, there will be this, doesn't mean you've put in place measures to ensure that this doesn't recur. So for me,
there's someone on the line. Today's Friday. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Your name and where you're calling from?
My name is Bryce Paul. I'm calling from Ashanti Mampong.
Good. Why are you? Please, your view, sir.
Yeah.
Good.
I want to greet Dr. Kokofu, and what I am talking about is payers. It's very worrying. How can you salary double without knowing it? So I think we should blame the Accountant General Department. And my second issue is you didn't discuss it, but it's worrying me, so I would like to take this opportunity to ask about that.
Very well.
The Ghana Immigration Service sold application forms to us, and then for the past 3 months we have not heard anything from them. Even WAEC won't take 3 months to print. When you ask them, they tell us that their senior officers are training. If they knew their senior officers would be at training at that time, why did they schedule the recruitment within those times? If selling of recruitment forms are legal or there is a law backing that, if there is a law backing it, they should let us know. If there is no any law, then they should refund money to us.
Okay.
And then we know that we didn't go for any recruitment. How can you keep for 3 good months without responding to us?
My brother, that's a good point. We'll look at that as part of our discussion. A quick one.
So as I continue, what I want to say, yes, it is important that we protect the public purse. Whatever it is that we get from our taxes, we protect it and make good use of it. But it becomes useless, meaning not useful if there is no country for us to call ours, if there is no country for us to have the sovereignty, or if we are reduced to slaves in our own country, it becomes useless, all that attempt. That is why I am making what do you call it, American USD.
Very good. Isaac, what do you have for us this afternoon, sir? Isaac, go ahead, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this is Isaac.
Very well.
About before this discussion, there was this thing that Alaji was making his point. He was talking about the sports minister. This is his opinion. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yeah, this is his opinion, and I don't understand Dr. Kukufu to that effect. I don't understand. He was just making his this is what he was. He can just
president can add to that. He's talking about a ministry, and the minister in charge is responsible. So he thinks it is best for the country to start from there. If someone should step aside, then start from the minister. And I don't understand why someone like
okay.
I don't understand why some of the time when people like doctor and etc. in the church, when the public, try to bring on.
Okay. Assertion that I cannot command the president.
All right. Okay.
It's my opinion.
All right.
And we are learning from you.
Right.
So please, thank you. And I tell the lady there, she's really doing well.
Okay. So the lady is doing very well.
Thank you.
But Doc, you heard that gentleman. He said that he wants to learn from you. The point is that look, if somebody is saying that if we want unity, and as when my brother was saying that, well, the president should do this, the president should do this. The rebuttal that he didn't think that it comes within the spirit of unity if you would respond that way. Well, that's
in our country today, because that is what I see lacking. We sometimes in such incidents we say, oh, only 2 people die, as if 2 people means nothing. You want to believe in advanced countries, and this is where they know it is human beings that would make to achieve something. You value of the human life and will not take kindly to the fact that even once this life. It brings to fore the call by many that look, it is our entire mining sector need to be re-looked at. One, the benefits that we get, the danger, and then you see the release of even some chemicals in our waters by big mining companies that we allow them today to operate, whilst the indigenous Ghanaian small-scale miners have been asked to stop running their businesses. It becomes a whole lot of issue that we need to address and address very
Joshua is calling.
I was Palace now.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon, and where you're calling from, sir?
Yeah. Please, I'm calling from Awush Palace now.
Very well, so go ahead with your opinion, sir.
Okay. Sometimes this our Ghana, some things are going on, it's not helping the youth at all. We see sometimes they will print a form and bring it out, like maybe the service, fire service, police service, those kind of things. And the youth too, they don't have money, so they want to enter some place and get something to help them small. They would rather bring this form out and they will be buying. If they buy the form, they will not be calling you or something like that. Maybe you will go there later on, they will be talking you some kind of things. It's not helping. If you know that maybe you print a form out, you are going to take 1,000 people, just bring that 1,000 people form out. If they buy, they know that they buy it finished.
All right, sir. I think you made a point. I just want to.
So as we continue, my point still remain that look, let us re-look into the entire mining sector and then put the necessary measures in place so that the country will get the maximum benefit from the natural resource that we've been endowed with. And then also use the opportunity. Honorable Kukufu say I shouldn't command the president, but I'll call on him and appeal to him that our brothers and sisters, well,
so
if I demand and will not get, I'll appeal and get it. So I want to appeal.
Right,
so that they look back into their issue and get them back to business. It is very important. They've invested so much.
And we hear about them in other countries, but I think that we don't. Susan, coming to you, I don't know your experience, but
good afternoon.
Yes, welcome, and your view, sir.
Please, I'm Derek. I'll speak on. Please, I want to comment on the program. In connection with the program this afternoon, it seems like the double payment for our MPs and the ex-ministers during the Mahama administration. I hope.
Yes.
Who are the people who make the payment? Their money being paid from controller. They don't have a system that can check those things. I hope systems are being put in place. And system, it was human beings who operate the system, so they can't tell us that those people who kill their names don't know that those people are taking double salary. So we are supposed to be very serious
in Ghana.
Oh, okay.
Things are not going on very well. So we have to be very, very serious.
Okay, so
Thank you very much.
all of us should be part of this evangelism to ensure that we...
I mean, talking about occupational health and safety, you work here. When you came, did you have an orientation of the kind of hazards you are exposed to and who to report to if something happened to you? Where do you have an incidence book or an occurrence book that when something happens to you is recorded? What kind of corrective action and preventive action do you take if accidents happen in your workplace? Have you done that risk assessment? You work here. You've been working here for how many years? Well, I have to call any of your cameramen and your plenty people. We don't do it. And I'm sure we do have a health and occupational health and safety policy in this country. But as usual, nobody knows about it. Nobody's been oriented about it. People just come, they are employed, no orientation on the things. Where to fire drill. Do you have a fire? Have you marked fire points? So if you have a central thing, so if something happens, you have fire marshals in this place.
Yes.
Good, fantastic.
We do.
That may be what do you call it? GBC. But let's pick 10 companies off the streets or state institutions. Do they have something like that? You get it. We have thrown occupational health and safety to the dogs.
No.
And then we have something like this and we all hit up. Yes, in the mining sector, I think with organized mining, we are hard pressed to find this kind of tragedy. You know, we hear it all the time with the Galamsey people, you know, tunnels have caved in, this number of people that with the, you know, organized mining, if I should put it that way, or the formal mining, we are hard pressed to find these kind of accidents. I think the investigations are ongoing. I don't think they've come out with, you know, findings yet, but they are talking about subcontractors, whatever. But we know that the ultimate responsibility would be with Newmont, because if somebody is coming to work in your establishment, you set the standards on occupational health and safety for them to abide by, so that you look at it, because you must learn how to you must have a policy statement on how to deal with your somebody is come to do a job for you. You say that in our quality management system, when it comes to health and safety, these are our standards. Do yours have to fit into their standards, which must be stringent, so that things like this don't occur. So they may have subcontracted it out to CONSAR, but the ultimate responsibility will lie on Newmont, because they are the ones that brought in the subcontractor. I think that, you know, we should not take occupational health and safety for granted. In every institution, there needs to be that kind of orientation on the risk in that particular institution, what kind of corrective actions that ought to take place so that they don't reoccur.
Even though this was a pure accident, maybe?
But accidents would happen, and sometimes accidents just don't happen like that. They are accumulation.
Cause and
yes,
effect.
no, they are accumulation of little things, and then, you know, so some. I mean, that's why we have the expression: "There's an accident waiting to happen," because there are little things that we may overlook that, in the end, build up and then cause the action. So the thing is to have the preventive action. You make the assessment of your work area, you look at the risk involved, you look at the things that can cause this, and then you put the preventive things in place, so that you either, you see, with accidents and things like that, there are certain risks. There are certain risks that you cannot do away with. But what you can do is to minimize them, so that when they happen, they will not be as bad as they can be. There are certain accidents that you definitely can eliminate totally. And every workplace has to look at that and categorize them and make sure that everybody is on board. Because, look, occupational health and safety is not for the occupational health and safety manager just in that place. It's not just for the managerial level. It's across board, from the beginning, from the head of that institution to the lowest person in that institution. Everybody must be involved. And that is the only way that you can prevent accidents.
Yeah.
Doc.
Yeah, Kwame. My condolences goes to the bereaved family, particularly widows and children. The sector minister was there to go and assess the extent of damage. And of course, all kind of damage can be so heavy than loss of lives. So it's a pity. The president himself have expressed his condolences to those affected, family and Newmont and all those stakeholders. But let's come back to situate it in its proper context. We're talking about natural resource governance here. And natural resource exploitation. In this case, the extractive industry is highly commercial capitalized and highly operationalized. The risk involved is so high. When you talk about the extractive industry, you're talking about these mining sector to the upstream and downstream petroleum exploration. And you find risk at all levels. So in every agreement, whether petroleum or mining agreement, as per the regulations, in this case, per Minerals Commission's regulations, there are aspects of environmental, health, and safety standards spelled out that you need to adhere to. So the feasibility report that the company presents for operational licenses have all these things in place. And indeed, the multinationals who come along, because of where they're coming from, and in most cases, the international community do kind of oversight regulations as to the standards of risk, not elimination, but reduction and all these things at that level. So that is why we do not hear most often some of these accidents occurring in the major mining companies and the petroleum exploration companies. However, things happen either by force majeure, that's of natural causes. That one, no one takes responsibility. See, it's an act of God, is it not? By law. And others happen by somebody's negligence. Clearly. So somebody takes responsibility for something that happens. And here we are talking about workplace, work sites. So what were the measures put in place to avert some of these things? Was it avoidable? Could it have been avoided altogether? Or was it pure accident or something of the sort? We cannot sit here in the studios to give judgment. That is why the minister have asked for full-scale investigation. My prayer is that the investigators will go into it so he can give us something to learn on, and then for Newmont and other operators in the industry to also take heed to. Having said that, you know, now we are treading into workman's compensation.
Right, of course, definitely.
Yeah, workman's compensation.
Very heavy ones, isn't it?
And reports coming out. Indeed, people within the enclave, workers with the Newmont, they're saying a lot of things that are not palatable. Some are accusing Newmont as not walking their talks. In other words, they are unable to redeem, or they feel reluctant to redeem their own pledges when it comes to some of these accidents and compensation payments and all that. So my prayer is that the sector minister will have to ensure that whatever is due, those who have injured, those who have lost their lives and all that, will be properly looked at, because for you know, most of them or all of them were to be the or are the breadwinners for their various families. Right. So as it has happened, their children, some kind of education funding, endowment one for them wouldn't be a bad idea. And then going forward, the safety standards would have to be beefed up at all levels. And it has to take Minerals Commission inspectors to go out there onto the field, both medium, small scale, large scale mining companies. My brother chipped in something that needs to be looked at. He is appealing to the president to look at the case of the small-scale miners. I agree with him. Why not? The small-scale miners who are doing genuine work have been told to give the government and the authorities a little bit time to do some kind of sanitizing the industry, so we can have real regulated procedures as to small-scale mining. But they should help, to contain and sustain the fight against calamity.
All right, okay. If you mistakenly pay me, someone says this from the Volta region, it's called power. He says, if you mistakenly pay me what I'm not due for, do I refund it, or I'll wait for you to investigate to realize you paid me what does not belong to me as a patriotic citizen? Thank God for change of government. If the minority claim it was advance payment, why didn't it state on the pay slips? Well, Mr. Kwame, we have people. Okay, no, this is not. Good morning to you all. When the police is after corrupt politicians, then it's politically motivated. But when they abuse ordinary Ghanaians, no one cares about it. How can you say a whole MP do not know what he is supposed to receive at the end of the month? And for the lady panelists, he doesn't even value what she earns from her job, because president are giving her much money. Oh, come on. Why she doesn't work for what she's trying hard to defend? Well, I don't see how that's fits into it. I wonder why the NPP always want to justify their wrongdoing by equalizing their term with that of the NDC. Please, Ghanaians are intelligent than that. We are perceived by the fact that we are perceived by the politicians, even from Adenta. Well, let me just delve directly into what has happened in the petroleum industry. PIAC's report that projects which been said to be used, with petroleum development fund to, procure or do these things, actually, some of them are ghosts and never happened. Well, according to Dr. Steve Mantia, this is becoming a very worrying trend, and I'm wondering exactly who is monitoring some of these things. It takes PIAC to come up and say things like this.
I mean, this is a
very quick one. I'm going to have 4 minutes to
This is a very simple thing. I mean, collectively, we have agreed that we put in place the necessary mechanism to ensure that whatever it is, we evaluate and find out where there are lapses, so that subsequently we correct it. In this particular case, I have also listened to the response of the Deputy Minister of Energy, John Jipo, which seeks to also raise the former Deputy Minister, cogent point to the effects that we expected X amount of money from this whole exercise, and we expect to generate so much, so that we put X amount in about
so these are 500
proposals in about 500 projects that we have put in place. The PIAC is supposed to have visited 45 of the 500 projects, and then would round up to the fact that 50% has not been done. I mean, it is not fair. It is.
I think that this is a developing story. I mean, so there'll be time to actually sink our teeth in it. But so I would say something else on this Newmont thing. I think that professionalism is a problem here, where it's not necessarily the Newmont thing, but as a general in this country, where instead of employing an architect, we then go for a draftsman. We want a pharmacist, that we think that an MCA is a pharmacist, and so we end up employing people that are not professionals to do certain jobs. And sometimes these are accidents waiting to happen. I'm not saying this is what happened in this case, but it's a general trend in this country, where people, instead of having, we want an engineer, we go for an engineering technician, and we think that it is equivalent.
I'm going off the main, so
the PIAC, the Public Interest Accountability Committee, is a creation of the law that established the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, the Act. And here we have 4 thematic areas where we spend the money. We're talking about ABFA, the annual budget funding allocation, and then we have what we call amortization of loans, then we have modernization of agriculture, and then the capacity building and all that. Year in and year out, since 2011, PIAC's annual report have been indicting the former Minister of Finance, that the revenue are not being used as prescribed by law, and that there is the need to go back to the books and see to it. So these things are abundant in Parliament. And for PIAC to have gone there, you see, you refer to the former Deputy Minister. What PIAC is saying that what they said they have done with particular
areas.
Okay. That one, 50% of the project, they are not seeing.
Well, thank you very much, Alaji Nasheed.
45 is not 50% of 500. It's certainly not 50% of 500.
And then Kwame Henry Kwabena Akokofu, thank you very much for coming. I know that same time next week I'm going to see you again. Time is not on my side. Bye-bye for now.
People should know how the oil